The reason that I'm putting the bike back together, for obvious reasons other than getting it rideable for a first ride, is because for me to get the subframe fixed, it has to be on the bike according to my body guy. And I've been trying to get it fixed without having to have it on the bike because it's more of a logistics challenge for me to get it to the shop right now. But today I'm going to put it all back together and we're going to take it to the shop in a rideable form. I'm going to start this off by doing one of the hardest things to do, and it's getting these forks back on. What's crazy is I checked these and they're not bent at all. It's just tolerances are so much tighter. There we go. Just gotta get it started. It'll go. Woo-wee. Now this doesn't get torqued down right now. This only goes on finger tight. All right, this is about as far as I got it so far. I still got to come up a little bit. I took the measurement before I took this off to know where exactly it needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on this side. All right, folks, I could not get this on my own, so I have my helper here, Mrs. Bicasso. Let me show you what we did. So I was having trouble getting this thing to slide up, and can you release that actually? And what we ended up doing, we ended up jamming, you put it back in there? A seal puller. Go ahead and spread it. And now it goes in. So, thank you so much, Mrs. Bicasso. You guys can see right here, we got this finally in, and we got this part right here. What it is, man, this thing is so tight. It just helps to spread this a little bit and allow us to forcibly get this up to the top. And the tool we used, again, is simply a seal puller. And what we did, we just jammed it in between that and just lightly spreaded it, and allowed us to, it took some of the pressure off of the fork as it goes up in. And now we're gonna do the same thing for right here. Slightly spread it like that. You guys can see it moving. It's gonna allow me to push that up in there. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Yeah. This bottom piece is still tight. All right, so, yep, there we go. All right, that's good. She's very glad that she was able to help, but we put that seal puller in between the joint and the screwdriver here and slightly pushed it out, and it took the pressure off both ends, because even though we took the pressure off the top end, it still wasn't taking it off the bottom end. And once we did that, it was able to slide up. You guys can see where I machined all that rust off that edge. And now I'm just gonna lightly tap with the mallet and get it the exact height that it's supposed to be. And I've already done this one. You see I got it right at the height it's supposed to be. All right, now that we got these forks back on, I actually got to tighten them down according to the manual. Basically putting these in first, lightly tighten these down and tighten the top. And this isn't torqued down yet, but I can't torque this down until this front end is situated. But as we can see, there's free movement, there's no kinks or weird noises. And also I'm gonna obviously snatch on this thing to make sure that there's no free play. Another part to this is remembering that this bike, before I even got it, is sat out in the rain. And all of these little bolts, they're corroded pretty much. And they're harder to come out compared to a brand new bike. So when you have bolts like that are hard to come out, imagine these forks that are kind of like, they were essentially seized in here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and torque that middle hex nut down. It should be 72 foot-pounds. That might be it right there. Let's see. That's it. Now we got to torque down each of these. They're going to be 17 foot-pounds a piece. There we go. That's torqued down. That's torqued down. All right, next up is putting in the tire. All right, I'm gonna roll this back in here. I'm gonna get a little bit of grease. That slots in that little hole down there. Then take this. Lift. Oh, don't fall out. There we go. All right, right, so the wheel speed sensor, it sits right in that slot right there. All right, after putting this thing on and taking it off 2 different times, this is supposed to be mounted first, because once you put this on and the wheel pops off, it just kind of hangs. But now that we put this, it's very difficult to get to this with the tire on. So this should be it. And hopefully the brakes don't get in the way, man. That would suck if I had to take this off a 4th time. Who would have thought that when you do it the way that the engineers designed it to be done, everything just goes back easier. All right, I got that tight. Make sure there's weight on it. Done. All right, these pinch bolts calls for 18 pound-feet and 1 turn after initial torque. And turn, that's enough. That's enough. And surprisingly, the brake pads still look pretty good, so I'm not gonna bother with those. There's actually spider webs in there. They're gonna be in for a rude awakening. All right, I did take the slack out of this wheel speed sensor, and once I connect the cable back on the wire harness, it'll tighten it up. But like I said, it's definitely not in the way of the caliper or the rotor, or it can't even touch the rotor because there's a bracket that you screw it into that stops it from moving. All right, it's time to torque these down. This is gonna be 26 foot-pounds. And this is why you always check the manual. It is actually 29 foot-pounds, so would have been detrimental, but you want to get the torque right. So 29 foot-pounds. Done. And time to put my reshaped fender back on the bike. It's very easy. You slot that in like that. Get the screws. Get these one by one. I'm not even gonna bother torquing this down. There's a nice little touch, putting the Indian symbol back where it needs to be. All right, folks, this is what we're looking like. We got the front end back on. This is a little tight. Pretty sure I got to take that. Probably need to take that caliper back off and expand those pistons. I think those brakes are pushing against that rotor a little too tight. If I can't get it to ride, once I get it all back put together, I know that's what it is. You just have to squeeze those pistons back out. But I think next is going to be the handlebars. I still got to put the clutch cable in, the new wiring harness, and also we got to get the brakes in. I think the hardest part of this is going to be bleeding these brakes, both front and rear. The funny thing about the rear, you see it's still dripping. I found out that this banjo bolt here at the back was loose, and I think probably the impact from the accident probably knocked that banjo bolt, knocked the torque off that banjo bolt and caused it to loosen up. So we're gonna see what we can do with that, but I'm pretty sure it's just loose. And all of my debris. Got the handlebars. Yes. All shout out to Lawless Garage, man. This is their doing, the reason we have these handlebars. This is all them. If it were not for those awesome people over at Lawless Garage, not only for those engine guards that I bought from them, but also from them giving me those handlebars, we would not be able to do this today. So thank you for that. The next part of this is routing this wiring harness in the bar. So this is the left side, and the reason I know this is the right side of the harness is because we have the throttle, electronic throttle connection right here. We're just gonna feed this through, and it's gonna come out right there. The throttle end is gonna sit in there, but these are gonna come out right here, and that's where you mount the right throttle. We're gonna take this, which is the throttle, the electronic throttle, we're gonna connect it. As you guys can see, this took all of 1 minute to do. And there's the throttle connection right there on the inside. The opposite side is wired as well. This is very easy. Going like that, and I'm gonna pull that back. I just do it like that. All right, so now, got that. Connect this. Can't mess it up. All right, pull that back through. Throttle's done. And yeah, now the bars are completely wired. So for me to put the handlebars on, this is the part that clamps the handlebars down and holds the screen. But before I wanted to move forward, I wanted to get that rust out of that center. I don't have to do this, but it definitely cleans up the look and just shows you guys I'm trying not to cut any corners. I'd say that was a side quest that was definitely worth it. Look at that, that is such a huge difference. Got 2 bolts on top, and I still gotta rotate these where they need to be. We're gonna get this put on. Oh yeah, it's coming together now, folks. Got these 2 under that need to be done as well. And this is what we got from my friends over at Lawless Garage. They were so nice enough to give me their bars that they were no longer using from their build. And when I bought my engine guards from them, they sent these bars with them as like a, you know, a thank you and a freebie. So I appreciate you guys so much for helping me doing this, man. It means so much. Let me show you guys a bit of what I have planned going forward. So you guys know that the rear tire is a 180 and I wanted a little bit more meat. Yep, got this Avon, baby. This thing is going to make this rear end look a tad bit wider. Plus that tire looks like crap. And you can see the marks where they flat spotted it, I guess trying to stop or do burnouts, whatever they were doing. You see right there as well. But this is an Avon 260 VR16. So yeah, rim size 16. It has a 60 aspect ratio and it's a 200mm rear tire. So this is gonna replace that tire, and yeah, we're not gonna put that on today, but that is something to be done in the future. Still got a lot of stuff that's disconnected here, but I'm just gonna feed these through. I think I better get them easier in here if I go down through the bottom like this. And I kind of pull them like this. Yeah, this is a lot easier than doing it the way that I did the first time. All right, after some fiddling and some curse words, I finally got all of this situated, and I have the antenna right here and another connection piece for the screen that once I finally get that in, I'll be able to connect that right there and then just tie it into that cable. More likely this may end up coming off again, but I know how to get this off now, and it's got to slide it up and it slots into those holes. This side goes into there, snap. One goes into here, snap, and the other goes in like this. It's done. I'm gonna get the Velcro and cover that up. It goes out like that, goes in like that, and you push it in. Somehow I misplaced one of these clips right here. So I'm just gonna put, I guess, one in. Boom. One side's hanging, but it'll be all right. All right, now it's time to put the left handle grip side on. And we got the switch that we had previously from a Challenger that we know that works. And this is a new cover, and this is one that I just haven't taken out the pack yet. This is the part that goes over this. And dude, these are like 150 to 200 bucks together. This was absolutely insane. Should go right in the hole and get it right. I'm pretty good at putting things in holes, I think. There we go. All right, quick story time. So what I have in my hand is an Indian Chief clutch assembly. This has the handle, the mounting bracket, and the clutch switch that goes into the switch assembly on the handlebar. So I guess whenever you engage and disengage the clutch, the bike knows whether or not that's happening. So the problem is that I didn't know whether or not on the diagram when I was buying this part, whether or not all of this came as one piece. So if you guys remember, I have the original clutch handle, and my thought was I was gonna salvage this and reuse it because I could just get it, you know, paint it, powder coat it or whatever. And I ordered the individual parts to fix the clutch handle. Here's the part that goes on the front of the handlebar. Here's the clutch switch. Here's the mounting brackets. But again, it really wasn't clear whether or not everything came in it. And the part that I really needed was this part right here in the middle, this perch. And this is what the handle mounts to, and also the mirror. And also here's that front piece that I was talking about. But basically, I went back and forth with the guy at the dealership, and essentially neither of us knew whether or not this part, that one part right there, came with the other components, because based off the diagram, it had a little arrow that was pointing to this and also the other pieces. And essentially I got it wrong. I took a gamble and I wasted like probably, I don't know, 80 bucks buying those individual pieces when I could have just spent the entire amount and bought this in the first place. But I didn't want to get the whole thing if all I needed was the perch and the individual switches. But it gets even worse. I have another clutch handle and also brake lever, because a very nice person named Jameson, he reached out to me and said, hey man, I have the brake lever, the clutch lever, and the front and the rear signals. If you want them, I'll just send them to you for the cost of shipping. And of course, you know, I had to throw him a little bit. I threw him some like beer money. But I have the clutch handle right here, and if the diagram was what I expected, where I was gonna get that perch, I could have put it all back together without spending $350 and still having an extra clutch lever. So now I have 3 clutch levers. And an extra switch and an extra mount and stuff. So it sucked. I took a gamble and it didn't work out. But yeah, sometimes you just have to, like, you know, take a risk. And I was hoping I could save some money. But worst case is now I have extra parts, but I do have the full thing to put back on the bike. But it's just a sucky situation. So the clutch handle and the perch and all that gets mounted right there on that little hole right there. I know some of you might be saying, Brandon, why don't you just get your money back? Well, the problem with that is by the time I spend 15% in restocking fee and then shipping it, I could have just kept it. So I'm just gonna keep it in case somebody out there needs it themselves. I'll be able to ship it to them, or in case something goes wrong with this one, I can ship it to them. It's not that big of a deal. It's a learning experience. This is actually more annoying than I thought it was gonna be. I felt like doing this was more tedious than it probably should have been, but it's on. Oh, my brake assembly is still in this bucket. All right, first order of business is getting my bracket off of here. And long as I don't excessively press this brake, use this lever and engage the master cylinder, we should prevent it from squirting out fluid. To get this lever off, you got one screw at the top flathead and you got a nut at the bottom. And this should come straight out. Break this nut first. All right, go. I got that bolt. All right, that is the old one. I'm just gonna toss that somewhere. All right, after getting those off, I simply added some grease to the, mounting point for the brake lever, and also that mounting bolt, we added some grease, so we should be good on that. And this is the final result. We got the new lever on, we got it tightened down. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I got tired of dealing with that brake fluid, so I went ahead and put this on, but here we go. Just like that. Tighten it down a little bit. Still gotta get the throttle in on here too. And get the throttle in right here. This is gonna slide on just like that. And that's gonna go on top of that. This brake might have to be moved because I don't think it's in the right place, which is why it always comes off first. The brake is on. Of course, there's no resistance because there's no brake pressure. We're gonna have to bleed the brakes. We're gonna have to do that for the front, and we're gonna have to do that for the rear. But that banjo bolts, you gotta route that actually through there. All right, that's routed correctly. Hey man, after all this work, I can tell you that I'm proud that this bike is actually starting to look like a motorcycle again. Check this out. And again, when I last did this, we didn't have this on there. Yep. Use that. Fuel line's on, and we got the fuel vent. And now that I've done that, just one good tug and it should go back into place. All right, we're good to go. We can actually start the bike now. All right, so I totally forgot about installing the clutch cable, because how am I gonna ride the bike without a clutch cable? So I've already greased it, so we're gonna mount this and we're gonna route it along the chassis of the bike, and we're gonna get it installed. Almost forgot, on this side I gotta put some grease too, so I got it on my finger. I'm gonna put this grease on, and we're gonna get this clutch cable mounted, and then we're still gonna have to adjust it. We got that cable on. I don't know if that's supposed to be routed there. If I have to, I'll just reroute it down the inside. No big deal, I can take it from the top. All right, now I'm gonna see if I can take care of this suspension and get these put on. I got this one on this side already put on. I gotta put the other side on. But let me tell you guys the story about the suspension. So the good news is that this is an aftermarket set of suspension shocks. These are from Drag Specialties. These are actually these are 13 inches. The stock are 12. This one shock is 600 bucks. This shock times 2 is only 300 bucks. Here's the problem. I didn't know anything about a spring rate before I started this, and also talking to people a lot smarter than me over at Lawless Garage, and also a guy that works for, I guess, a tech for Indian. This has a certain spring rate, and it is obviously heavier compared to the spring rates that I got from Drag Specialties. Now, this one from Drag Specialties, the good thing about it is cheaper, and a lot of people say that aftermarket shocks are better than slightly better than stock anyway. These aren't amazing like Legends or Progressives, but they have adjustable height. So even though they're 13 inches, I can set them to 12.5, because when I set them to 12 inches, which is the stock height, it was, no, when I set it to 13, it was actually bumping my exhaust bracket. Being that the spring rate is off, the result is gonna be, we're gonna get a more bouncy ride, which is not what we want. So what is the solution to this problem? You guys remember this bench shock right here? From what I've been told and from what I've been reading on, this is actually salvageable. The problem is I got to get this off, and I've scuffed it up quite a bit so I can actually clean it up, but the spring will actually go back to its normal position once we take this off, and it's the damper inside that's the problem. So we're not going to reuse the damper, we're going to reuse the spring on the Drag Specialty shock. Now, we're not going to do that today, but today we're just going to put this on. Like I said, it is something that can be done. I've seen it done on 2 other Chiefs, and it's something we're going to do on ours. There we go. All right, these are on. See, it's easier when you can just adjust them versus, you know, trying to deal with them. But we're gonna slide these on. I do have to get some spacers or some shims made because it is kind of wobbly. It's not like crazy, but like I said, for what we're trying to do, it'll work. Back on, and this bad boy should be able to come off of the jack. So this is with the new shocks on. You can see how we have that space. So I'm gonna get some metal shims put on there once they are done and they're shipped out to me. But once weight is on this bike, you can see the little bit of play. Once we put weight on this, that's not gonna be a problem. And like I said, this is not something this is not a permanent thing. This is just to ride it around, I guess, to test things out and to make sure that once we can actually get the bike to the shop. One. Got it. Done. VCM. And we don't really have to hook these up, but I'm gonna do it anyway. This is for the screen. And this is the antenna, or the GPS antenna. Go ahead and mount that. I think we're good. And these are for the turn signals, which we don't have on the bike yet. All right, so this is the original battery that came with the bike that I was having problems with. I did have it charged. They keep claiming that it's a good battery, so I let them charge it overnight, them being Advanced Auto Parts, and we're gonna see what happens. All right, I actually fixed this and put it on the right way. So to get this off, you gotta take this off first. So you're gonna plug that in, and plug this in. See what it does. See if we get some noise. Uh-oh. That's good. Alright, after taking this freaking tank off again, started taking the handlebars off to try to figure out what the heck was going on because it's not starting, I finally figured it out. The key! It was nowhere near the bike, so the bike is not going to start without the key. If only I had the screen, I would be able to see that key fob is not present. Oh, let me go fix 30 minutes of work. Alright, I've put it back together in about 15 minutes. Throw this out the way for the first time. One more prime. Primal fuel, because it was off. Yep, got Mrs. Bicasso helping me bleed the brakes. All right, go ahead and hold it. That's working, and I'm very happy the fact that we were able to save that brake line at the back. Come find out, it was just loose, and so far, it's not leaking, and it's holding pressure. Yeah, it sits a lot lower than what it's supposed to be sitting, but for what I'm trying to do. It freaking works. Oh my freaking God, man. I am tired and I had to go for a quick rip on this bike. It freaking works, man. Everything on the bike works. We still got a few things to figure out, but it freaking works, and it is rideable within, of course, you know, slow speeds, because I didn't push the bike or anything, but it freaking works. I gotta like wake up in the morning and regroup after and just look at everything that was done today and just, I'll be back. Yes, people, it is finally time for the first ride on the wrecked Indian Chief. Granted, it's not, I guess, it is a first ride, but I'm gonna take the bike around the block and I guess test everything out in daylight. Guess what? It freaking runs. Run, baby. Oh man, you can see the water right there splashing up from the back because there's literally no protection as the water is throwing the water up on the back of the tire, but nothing under there is like super wet, so we're good on that front. But So there you guys go. That was a quick first ride on the Indian Chief in its weird, jacked up state, but the next plan, or the plan now, is to get the bike on a trailer that I have, and we're gonna get it to the shop. So we got a U-Haul trailer, and we're gonna use that to get the Indian Chief to the shop so we can get this tank situated, and we're gonna get this subframe situated. Also, we're gonna be getting, hopefully, the bike painted soon, so before we can do that, we gotta get the tank and, again, the subframe situated. But yeah, man, the bike is on the street again, even if it's in a weird state. But I guess we could say we proved all those haters wrong that said the bike wasn't gonna start. You know, there was gonna be some other issues, but clearly we're back on the street and we're moving forward. So if you want to catch up on this series and start from the very beginning on how we even got to this point, you can click this playlist on the screen and start from the very beginning to find out how much I paid for it and all the mayhem that comes with this series. But as always, thanks for listening to my story. And if you're subscribed, which I hope you are, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.